Hey everybody, I'm going to go through a little bit more of the Art of George Perez. This is an awesome book. Let me show you his artwork in here. More of his earlier stuff here. Fantastic Four, number 184, page 3, inked by Joe Sinnott. Cool art. This is page 19. And here's page 3. He jumped it around a little bit. And here's page 19 again. I don't know. I think they got it numbered wrong. Yeah, because it's already said 19, so I'm not sure exactly. It says it on here, page 30, it says here. Page 27, it says there. Page 26 or something like that on that one. Page 23. So they jumped it around a little bit. Cool art. So you read some more of this here. Storytelling was my natural saving quality in my early days. My art might have been crude, but the storytelling seems to have been developed pretty early on. One of the things I could have benefited from is more reference. When you're doing a book like that, you have to be more conscious of reference. Clothing should look contemporary and real. Buildings should look like real buildings. Guns should look like real guns. But I was working on deadline and drew what I could. People would tell me that those things that I drew didn't look like guns, and they were right. They looked like the idea of a gun, but not a real gun. Gradually, I realized that you can't fake everything without looking out of place, so I began to use more reference to go with my realistic style. Okay, that's cool. Like a lot of young artists at the time, I tended to get very protective of my art. I appreciated what inkers did, but I didn't want to lose my style underneath it all. I was particularly protective of the faces that I drew, and if the inker changed that, then it wasn't my art anymore. When John Romita was art director at Marvel, sometimes he would correct the faces to make them more on model. That was during the days when more real stylistic artists like Neil Adams and Barry Windsor Smith and others were becoming stars, and they had distinctive looks. Because their style was so unique to them, any changes made it fit a house style how could be drawing. I was Adams influenced when I started, but I was trying to draw faces in the house style. At one point, Klaus Janson, a great inker, said that I was doing Joe Sinnott noses. Then I realized whatever inker inked me, I had given them a groundwork so that whether they inked me precisely or they did a little variation of their own, it would still look fine. Cool. Here we go with another page here. This is Fantastic Four 186 cover, inked by Joe Sinnott. All the detail, awesome. Here we go. Fantastic Four number 189. And so this is a 183, my mistake. I'm looking at the wrong one. And Fantastic Four 189 here. And this one's 186 right here. I think I looked at the wrong one, I think. So I just like to get a collection of this stuff. It's really cool. He said, I didn't always like what every inker had done with my art. For instance, Coletta inked me on Avengers, and that bothered me a bit because not only would he simplify the faces, but he would get rid of backgrounds. That bothered me because I had illustrated those backgrounds and they were part of the finished artwork, and leaving them out sometimes changed the way the story works visually. But I had no position of power at the time. I was grateful when Sam Granger came in and was more faithful to my work. I was also grateful to Joe Sinnott because he could keep the integrity of the artist but make the finished work clean and distinctive. I always thought that Joe was the best inker because I thought he followed me so faithfully. A year later, I saw a piece of original art and saw my heavy pencils, which were still visible under the inks, and I realized that Joe had actually moved a line here or there and changed some parts of the images. He had done things that made me look better without losing my style, and I hadn't realized it. Claus was another inker who enhanced the art, adding shadow and spotting blacks on the page in ways that I didn't. That's cool. Like I said, the inker has to be able to draw too. That's cool. Here's more artwork here. This is Fantastic Four Annual number 14, it says. Page 18. I learned from these inkers, and I learned how to do a lot of these things on my own. Now, as I've gotten older and developed artistically, I've become more confident in my art style. One inker who enhanced my work in my early days can't ink me well now because he made changes to the work, adapting it to his style. Today my style is so distinctive that any change would be noticed by me and by my fans, who say that it doesn't look like George Perez's work. But the style hadn't been developed as distinctly back then, so there was more room for the inker to interpret things. As I said, I was working in some elements of a house style rather than drawing for myself. As I got more confident, I began to try to develop a distinctive Perez approach to things like faces, and I began to want inkers who would show what I had drawn rather than their own work. Here we go with What If number 15, page 37. That's cool. Tom Palmer inked that. Pablo Marcos inked the other page. Faces are the most important things to me. Faces have to be distinctive and I don't want an inker to homogenize them. I use the example of a beauty pageant where you have many beautiful women and they all have beautiful faces, but they don't have the same face. All have the same face. Each face is beautiful, but each face is different. Each woman has to look like herself. Well, each face that I draw is different, and the inker has to keep the faces different and make each character look like himself or herself. That's cool. I know he does that a lot. We did that with Avengers. He made the faces look all different and everything. What we got here is Avengers Assemble. Avengers number 151, page 27, detail. Inked by John Tartaglione. There was one major story when I got on the Avengers that was a real challenge for me. Steve Englehart put them in the Old West and I had to draw horses. Oh my gosh. I have to draw horses in a western town and a locomotive and all those other elements of the traditional western. I looked at TV westerns for inspiration, but I had to get books on horses to get it right. I also looked at Remington and other artists to learn how to draw these things. That's cool. Avengers 142, page 1, inked by Vinny Coletta. Go west, young gods. That's cool. And we got this. This is Avengers 143, page 17. So much detail. He always puts so much detail. It's awesome. Sam Granger. This is Avengers 143, page 30 by Sam Granger in 1976. Inked by him. That's cool. And we got here Avengers number 147, page 30. Inked by Vince Coletta. And we got Avengers 148, inked by Sam Granger, number 31, page 31. That's cool. Stuff like this, I love to see Alex Ross paint that in a realistic style out in space and everything. Imagine how cool that would look. And this one here too, like from that Alex Ross fight scene with Namor and Iron Man. He redrew it after Jack Kirby. It's like awesome. My storytelling approach seemed to really open up by the time I took over the Avengers. More use of open space, larger figures, more action. I wasn't conscious of it all the time, but there were times when I would open up a page, remove the panel borders, have a blank background that came about on the advice of Patty Cochran, who commented on the fact that my stuff looked cluttered. She said I had to realize the difference between detail and clutter. My style was very influenced by people who put a mountain of detail in their work. People like Jim Starlin and Barry Windsor Smith, who were incredibly ornate. And I enjoyed doing work that was ornate like that. But there was a point when my pages began to look gray if you saw them without color. Too much detail, too much heavy line work made everything look muddy. Nothing jumped off the page. Wow. I said, No Final Victory. Avengers Annual number 6, inked by Mike Esposito, page 1. That's cool. This is Avengers Annual 6, page 35, detailed by Mike Esposito. And the overleaf is Avengers Annual 6, page 24 and 25. See, it's going to be the next page, I guess. Or is that something else? I'm missing something there. Yeah, it must be this right here. 24. Look at that. Look at the detail. Wow. And he signed it too. That is so cool. The reverse, so I love this. I think I had a trade paperback of this. This is cool. Reversed everything. Look at the detail on the wall and the pillar. Wow. And machinery and everything. It's awesome stuff. Wow. Oh, this is cool. Avengers 155, 2 and 3. Wow. Inked by Pablo Marcos. I like how when they open up the pages like that, it's just open. Cool. Wow. This one's Avengers 154, page 27, inked by Pablo Marcos. That is cool. And over on the other side, Avengers 155, page 14, detail, inked by Pablo Marcos. Namor. And up here we got Avengers 160 and 163, inked by Joe Sinnott, and the other by Pablo Marcos. Cool. Let's look down here. Okay. He said, Bob Layton made a comment at one point that I was doing a lot of line work, but the characters lacked weight. I wasn't using enough black in the finished art, which is why the pages looked gray. After listening to Patty and to Bob, I began to recognize the difference between detail and clutter, but I don't think that very many people remember the pages where I pulled back. A lot of that was due to what I was drawing, which was primarily team books. There were a lot of characters, and those characters and stories demanded so much space that whenever I'd add details to them, it would use up so much of the dead space that you had too much to look at. The reader had to have an ability to rest the eyes in some open space. It's like an actor screaming all the words of a play. There has to be a wow moment and a building moment. There has to be silence and volume in their appropriate places. At the time, people would point these things out to me. I'd sometimes rebel against the advice, But even then, I would see that there were ideas there that could work. So that's it for now. I'm going to stop right here. I try to keep it at 15 minutes. But look at this. I'll end off with this one last page here. Avengers number 172. That is cool. Inked by Terry Austin, 1978. That's cool. All right. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Like and subscribe and tell me what you think. And you guys have a great day. Collector Dude is out.